She saved France at 17. They burned her alive at 19. The only crime they could formally prove was the clothes she wore. She was born a peasant in a small French village in 1412. She could not read. She could not write. She had no military training. She had never seen a battle. At the age of 13, she began hearing voices. She described them as the voices of saints, Saint Michael, Saint Catherine, Saint Margaret. They told her France was in danger and she was the one who had to save it. She was 13 years old. Nobody believed her. She went to the military commander of her region and told him what she had heard. He sent her home. She came back. He sent her home again. She came back a third time. He gave her an escort to the royal court, the Dauphin of France, the uncrowned heir to the throne, hid himself among his courtiers to test her. Joan of Arc walked into the room and identified him immediately, despite having never seen him before. He gave her an army. In 1429, Joan of Arc led the French army to the besieged city of Orleans. The English had been surrounding it for 7 months. The French military commanders had no plan to break the siege. Joan of Arc arrived on April 29th. Within 9 days, the English were in retreat. She was struck by an arrow during the fighting. She pulled it out herself and returned to the battle. Orleans fell to the French. The tide of the 100 Years' War turned in a single week. The Dauphin was crowned King Charles VII of France at Reims Cathedral on July 17, 1429. Joan of Arc stood beside him at the coronation holding her standard. She was 17 years old. She had done what she came to do. She had saved France. She had crowned a king. She had turned the course of a war that had been going on for nearly 100 years. And then the people she had done it for let her burn. In May 1430, Joan was captured by Burgundian forces allied with the English during a battle near Compiègne. She was handed to the English. The English turned her over to an ecclesiastical court run by French clergy loyal to their cause. King Charles VII made no attempt to negotiate her release. The man she had crowned, the king whose war she had won, did nothing. The trial began on January 9, 1431 in Rouen. The charges against her included heresy, witchcraft, blasphemy, acting on demonic visions, refusing to submit to church authority. The tribunal examined her for months, 15 judges, dozens of sessions, interrogation after interrogation. They could not make any of the serious charges stick. Joan of Arc defended herself without legal counsel against 15 trained theologians and held her own. She was not educated. She could not read. But she answered every question with a precision and a confidence that frustrated the court so completely that one of the trial clerics stepped down because he felt the testimony was being coerced. Another challenged the judge's right to run the trial and was jailed for it. There is evidence the trial records were falsified. After months of searching for a charge serious enough to justify what they had already decided to do, the tribunal arrived at the only thing they could formally prove. She wore men's clothing. That was it. The formal charge that convicted Joan of Arc. The charge that sent a 19-year-old girl to be burned alive in the public marketplace of Rouen was that she wore the clothing of a man. She had worn men's clothing since the beginning. She wore it to protect herself among soldiers. She wore it in battle. She wore it in prison where male guards had access to her cell. She wore it because it was practical and because it was safer. The tribunal told her to stop. She agreed. She signed a document renouncing her visions and agreeing to wear women's clothing. Her sentence was commuted to life imprisonment. 4 days later, the guards came to her cell and found her in men's clothing again. Historians have noted that there is testimony suggesting her female clothing was deliberately taken by the guards and replaced with male clothing while she slept, leaving her no choice. Whatever happened in that cell, the tribunal had what they needed. She was declared a relapsed heretic. On May 30th, 1431, Joan of Arc was led through the streets of Rouen in a cart. She wore a paper cap with the words "Relapsed Heretic Apostate Idolater" written on it. She was tied to a tall stake in the public marketplace. She asked for a cross. An English soldier made her one from 2 sticks. She kissed it and held it against her chest as the fire was lit. She was 19 years old. After she died, the executioner raked back the fire so the crowd could see that she was indeed a woman. Then he stoked it again until nothing remained but ashes. The ashes were thrown into the Seine River so that no relics could be collected. 25 years later, Pope Calixtus III ordered a retrial. The original conviction was overturned. The trial was declared tainted by fraud, deceit, and procedural violations. Joan of Arc was formally exonerated. In 1920, nearly 500 years after her death, the Catholic Church that burned her declared her a saint. The king she crowned never came for her. The church she served burned her. The country she saved made her a national symbol only after she was gone. She won a war for people who would not lift a finger to save her life, and the only crime they could formally prove against her was the clothes she wore